The Social Shift with Josie Ipandwe is a podcast platform that allows for every opinion to matter. However, views and opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of the Social Shift podcast and team. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so happy I get to say that again. Now, last week we had an episode where we were discussing whether youth are lazy or are the systems just working against them. Baston and Bomba, of course, giving us their honest opinions, and it was a lovely show. I saw all of your comments in the comment section, and I'm happy that the conversation has gone further. Remember, this is called The Social Shift with Josie Ipandwe, and it's about shifting mindsets and empowering our youth with opinion on how to become more productive and ultimately take up leadership in the country. Now, today's guest is, of course, one that needs no introduction. They're actually two. And they have been in the media space for so long, doing amazing things. And I'm so privileged to have them here on set with us today as a part of our podcast, because they will share their opinions on one very crucial topic. Are Namibian political parties failing the youth? Now, remember, this show would not be possible if it wasn't for the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung Foundation, and we thank them for their sponsorship and being eager to assist us in elevating conversation about important topics amongst the youth. The Konrad Adenauer Stiftung is a German international political foundation with more than 100 offices worldwide. The KAS Namibia and Angola office, based in Windhoek, works to promote democracy, the rule of law, human rights, and political participation. Through educational initiatives and socio-political dialogue, it supports good governance and the strengthening of civic responsibility. KAS's work aims to foster freedom, justice, and sustainable development in Namibia and beyond. Patrick, hi.
Hi, Josie. Hi, Namibia. Hi, the world. I think I'm supposed to YouTube, eh?
Yes, it's the world.
We're streaming, not broadcasting.
Global. Yeah, like I said, we're international. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you are on a very long flight and you made it just in time. I'm so grateful that you are here.
I'm certain.
Michael.
Josie.
I'm so happy to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing.
I'm glad to see that the Kabashu is turning into a mansion. Eh? It's growing and it's becoming this great project.
I tell people, whoever told us the standard of building is bricks is because they're a brick manufacturer.
Yeah, so, that's true. Because I mean, you got aluminium windows. I don't have aluminium windows at home, so you're living large. Now, gentlemen, the topic that we're unpacking is one very important one. We had elections last year. First female president this year. Yay to us. Future is female. But now we have the local authority elections coming up. And there's one topic that I feel we do not discuss enough. Are Namibian political parties failing the youth or not? And I'm going to start this question off. Both of you can answer. Is it apathy? Are Namibian youth just not interested in politics? Or are they responding naturally to the fact that political parties are not addressing the issues of unemployment, lack of opportunity, lack of funding, and so forth? Michael, we can start with you.
Okay, Josie, to be honest with you and to be realistic with you, some of us have been in politics for years. And we took a keen interest in politics because some of us understood to say that if you don't interfere in politics, politics will soon interfere in your life. So because I didn't want that political interference, I was like, hey, let's start influencing things where we can be able to influence them. However, we must be honest with ourselves. Politics traditionally in all the countries, it's usually reserved for the aristocracies. These are the old money people or people with old money who just want to keep the power structures as they are. So they are obviously always not so comfortable with young people coming up with new ideas, their vibrancy, and some of the times we're radical in the sense of how we do things. And typical of this culture, we have seen it here in Namibia, where once upon a time we had a youthful, vibrant, energetic, powerful youth league in this country.
I thought you were describing me and then you were
No, but because it was so powerful and it was galvanizing the youth to have an interest in politics, what was done? They quickly just dismantled it so that the old guard can continue its ways of doing things the old way. So sadly, that is the reality. But as young people, I mean, I've seen now what young people have started to do. I think they're calling them the Gen Zs.
Yes.
Whether it's in Kenya, whether it's in Nepal, now it's here in Madagascar. These young people are now saying, "Utopis, Zaligis, there's no more."
Because we are also not the young ones anymore. We are now
No,
also
precisely.
the adults,
So,
yeah.
so what I'm scared of is to say that if we do not harness this energy right now, we're gonna have Arab Springs all over again. And this time around, they're not just contained to Arab, but it's all over the world and it's happening everywhere. So young people always tell people to say that if they're not directed, if they're not given opportunities to be part and parcel of something, once someone feels left out, irrespective of whether they're young or old, they are simply going to break down whatever it is that is there. So I think that is the danger that I'm foreseeing. However, I'm sure Patrick will be able to give us a different perspective.
No, I like the idea and the question very much, right? Because it's like a guardianship. Like a political party is like my guardian with my relationship with the state. But before I can answer that, I must maybe take a step back because I feel like intergenerationally, some of us are older than the country.
Yeah.
But the people who are not older than the country, they take certain things for granted. Like we understand what even politics is. And I think a lot of them feel like, I don't care about politics. The question is, what you probably meant to say is, I don't care about politicians. And I think that it's a danger in using those two interchangeably.
Yes.
In thinking that politics, which is an architecture of decision making. And so why would you not care about the people who are deciding on where you eat, where you get your water from, how much
electricity,
how much tax you pay, how much you're going to get back in? Why would you not care? And I think that is what we need to be empathetic towards. We need to be empathetic towards what has happened that a country like this, you said in Namibia most. But if you ask, what is the real full name, man? You say, hey, Pat Sam. I say, oh, what's your real name? You say, hey, Patrick Sam. So what is the real name of this country? Republic of Namibia.
Yeah.
Now, why did we not say just Namibia?
Yeah.
Why did we choose to use the word republic?
Yeah.
And I asked people, what word do we know inside there that we know? Public. So in a sense, the public is the what? The people.
Yeah.
So in the name of the country, it says the people of Namibia.
Yeah.
And then we're having to have the biggest inequality like you spoke about. The biggest unemployment that you spoke about. But the country apparently, legally, by the rule of law, belongs to the people.
Yeah.
But the people are hungry.
Yeah.
Right? So the
They're
question
sad.
is, and so the question is, even in our households, Josie, we look at violence. Right?
Yeah.
The amount of this thing of what we call even a rape of young kids, it's pedophilia. But we cannot address it because we have normalized the rape culture, violent culture in our country. So I don't know if the question that you're asking me is exclusive to political parties or if the general culture of violence, the general culture of survival, the general culture of, hey, I'm only looking out for myself, the general culture of
himself,
yes. I don't know if that has infected or affected political parties, if it's a general culture or it's exclusive to people who are our guardians, because the truth is our guardians are raping our daughters. The truth is the people are stealing the money from the public resources. And that reality we cannot deny, and maybe it's a dual reality. We likely still have peace in the country. That luckily we still have times to have joy, even if we're impoverished. People can sing a song and then we'll be like, hey, Sagawa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe the duality is what we are struggling with. But I think the general question is the sickness that is in Namibian society affected political parties who are our guardians to the state, the structures of the state at a central level, at a local level, authority level, at a regional level. Do you understand? Even through elections. So my question is more to do with our political parties infected by the general status of the country, which is the inability to love, and love is care and support. So how can political parties care better, and how can they support Namibian people better, is the question for me.
And piggybacking off of that question then, what about the rich history that Namibians have in the space of politics, right? Yes. We are reminded every Kasinga, every Independence Day, we fought for this country. We see the videos where people are being eaten by, what's the Rex, the dog?
The
apartheid dog. And we understand the struggle. Some of our parents are still walking around with bullet wounds in their legs. So we understand where they're coming from. Now we're born in the time where there's DSTV and we have Wi-Fi and we're living this life where we are carefree and we have rights. Your mother cannot beat you now anymore because the corporal punishment illegal. Now that gap that exists there between understanding where it is we come from in terms of political ideology and where it is we are now in terms of what kind of Namibian society do we want? Do you think that gap that exists between the generations is what's making Namibian youth more apathetic towards politics?
Okay, Josie, let me quickly come in there. I think for us to have a better understanding, I once read a quote, or I once heard something to say that hard times create tough people. And
Tough times never last.
no, not tough times never last, but soft times, like the times that we're raising our children, they create weak society or weak people in society. I mean, back in the days, if I needed to fetch water, I needed to walk at least a good 10 kilometers or a good 15 kilometers. If I had to go to school, I don't get dropped off at school. I had to literally walk to school. So we must be able to realize that intergenerational, in terms of struggles, it's gone now. Now, the struggles that we are faced with as young people, these are struggles that sometimes one is not able to see your true enemy. I mean, back in the days, we had a common enemy. They were called the Boer, and you could see the Boer by his skin, his white and all of that. So that's the enemy. But now when your enemy is called poverty, where is poverty? Where do I go shoot poverty?
Who is poverty, yeah.
Like with these economic hardships, you do not know how the economy looks like. It's something that you can't see. That is why I tell people to say that we actually have much more difficult times because the enemies we're fighting, these are foreign forces. I mean, these are banks being controlled. These are your economy. I mean, your economy could literally be shut down through a sanction. Remember, there was a time where we had the North Koreans in the country, and overnight we were told, hey, those North Koreans must pack their bags or we're sanctioning your country. What did we do? We said, hello, Kim or whoever, Kim Jong-un.
Not Kim
back to Korea.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because of that, we are now obviously two worlds apart. So I think more has to be done in terms of podcasts like the one that you have brought so that we're able to start shaping the minds of young people to start understanding, number one, what is politics. Because when people think about politics, we only think about viva politics.
Yes.
But it goes beyond viva. And for as long as that understanding is not there, then sadly, we are going to have that voter apathy. We're going to have that apathy where young people have no interest in politics because the politician typically, you must have a kapunda. There must be a certain physique to it and all of it. Because, I mean, it's...
So I'm depoliticizing myself now.
I need to get a kapunda.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are certain things to it.
Yeah.
But for as long as there are no conversations around things like this, because, I mean, we've become to a culture where we speak about makiti, it's more about entertainment, it's more about
Social life,
celebrity.
But I think I want to get onto that because what you're actually talking about, like, is the fragmentation. I think it's in our imaginations. And I think part of oppression is like killing your imagination. So, you know, when we were back in the day and then people are like, we were like, little but I was at Point Damara Lokasi. And then people were like, it's tight, from going to the company there. And, you know, so as a young 5-6-year-old, I was as a political party already, right? But in my imagination, like seeing the country, the flag come down and living through the euphoria of independence and the blood watered our freedom. You know, I think a lot of that to do with the people's collective imagination. And I think the collective imagination now has been reduced just to your individual imagination. And I don't think necessarily there was a good job in passing down the narrative, right? But I think there was a good job done in what they did in terms of, you know, the feeling of freedom, the ability to access, you know, even in the global thing, I must say we must be careful of how we analyze the world because my father, my grandfather, them grew up in apartheid, they couldn't access. Like you were saying, I just came back from a flight in Spain where I went on a conference on food systems and gastronomy. My father didn't do that. My grandfather didn't do that. So whose story are we also telling?
Yeah.
Right?
That's an important
Like are we also able to look at the fact that in this current political system, Patrick Sem gets to go to Columbia University on a Fulbright scholarship.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not a story for everybody, but it's a story for few. And I think it's important to analyze that thing to say, are political parties working for people or not? It's the same question to ask, Josie. Are our families working for us? Are our personal responsibilities as a person, do I take personal responsibility when it comes to my relationship with care? And when we look at this country of rape and violence, why are people raping 3-year-olds? Because a rape is about a power. So why as an old man do you only have power over a 3-year-old? And nobody's calling these pedophiles. There's not a sexual register list because most of our houses would be on that offensive list.
Most of our relatives would not be able to freely move anyway. Yeah.
And so the price we must pay for wanting to have dignity is high. So getting back to the political party issue, the question is, who is in political parties? What type of people are in political parties?
Michael.
Yeah, right. Right? And is Michael an outlier?
Yeah.
Or is he part of the general type of thing? So the reason I'm asking this is because I think when people join political parties initially, and then you had your you're singing your songs, you're just doing your thing. So I think there was a culture where, and I'm going to say this, where you could self-sacrifice. Where in your imagination, you are willing to do more for your country than you're willing to do for yourself.
We were selfless.
So I have this joke where I say, I do comedy sometimes, like, if you have to interview a Namibian civil servant, and then you say, hey, everybody's fired, we are rehiring. And then there's only one question you must answer. And you say, do you love your country more than you love yourself? And the Namibian will look at you and say, what is love?
And why must I love Namibia more than I love myself?
Correct.
This Namibia, there is
correct.
what for
But
me.
I think the criteria for joining a political party, when you want to be in charge of the people's country, or the people of Namibia, right, to have a charge of the natural resources, of the space, the air, the winds, the waters, I think that question is relevant. Do you love this country more than you love yourself? Because implicitly, only a few people can become doctors, only a few people can be politicians. And the ones that are able to answer that question must be the ones that we put at the forefront. But politics has become a game of the belly.
Yes.
And it's been Machiavellian. We know about Julius Caesar.
Yes.
We have been taught about political theory.
Yeah.
But now we have normalized it. And it's also like your way to your own personal mobility. You are taking our collective money for yourself.
Yes, and your kids.
So to answer your question, are political parties helping the kids? I think youth who might be part of political parties who also want their mobility to move forward, it could be helping them at an individual level. But as a collective, that's a debate.
Yeah, it is a debate. And I want to expand on that a bit more. Michael, you've been in political structures. You know the ins and outs of how it works, right? And we see that most parties, if not all, usually have a youth list, especially closer to elections. We get introduced to these new faces that, should you vote us into power, these are the young people we're going to send to parliament to represent you guys. Do you think that the inclusion of young people on party lists is actually a mechanism to try and empower the greater youth? Or is it just a way to mobilize votes and garner votes for the upcoming elections?
Well, I'll be frank and truthful with you. When we see young people being catapulted into parliament or to ministerial positions, it's nothing more than when you have a fishing line, what do you put at the end?
Bait.
A bait. So those young people are being used as bait. And they are not being used to say, because the whole idea of putting young people into spaces where they're supposed to be able to advocate for other young people. But what we have seen is the ones with the loudest mouth usually get catapulted into those positions.
Yeah.
And then usually they just just fade out naturally. And then we wait for the next group of young people that are loudmouth. And then what do? We bring them again to the table so that these ones act as barriers to keep the others out. And when we now have to speak of youth empowerment, then what are we able to do? We're able to then start mentioning, we had this minister, he was the youngest, we had this one, youngest. So what are you guys talking about? We have empowered youth all the time. So this whole thing is a scenario that is being played out so that when youth feel excluded from decision making, then we'll point out and say, but we had your young people here. It is clear that you young people are not ready to manage this country. So they are also being deliberately failed at the stage where they are. So that when we youth demand to actually lead the country, then we're told we're not experienced enough, we don't have this, we don't have that. So you can clearly see the old guard, as I've said before.
Yeah.
They will find mechanisms of ensuring that the order remains the way it is. I mean, if we honestly have to speak about vibrant leaders, I mean, I could give you a classic example. Let's take Fidel Castro, Raul Castro, and Ernesto Che Guevara. These were a group of young people that took over Cuba. And they were able to lead Cuba into a magnificent country. I always tell people, Cuba is a country that is literally being chokehold, but is still able to survive. I mean, ever since the overthrow of Batista, 1959-60, they have been under US sanctions, economic sanctions, meaning that you are unable to trade with Cuba freely and all of those things. But they've been able to survive. Imagine we take off all those chains and we free Cuba. They could have been wherever it is.
Absolutely.
So leadership is never about whether you're too young or whether you're too old. I think leadership should be about competency. And the biggest problem that I see these days is that we have introduced this zebra style of politics. Whether the person is incompetent, we must just be able to meet the zebra style. It is a woman. If they are disabled, they must be disabled. If they are albino, they must be albino. So that is the criteria. The criteria is no more. But are those people competent? No. We must just meet the zebra style.
But what about, Michael, the reality is, what if we have very few people who have the capacity to be competent?
Yeah, that's also the other question that I was going to ask.
Yes.
That the
Because
pool
the assumption,
of efficiency is so limited that we are forced to now expand the net a bit more to absorb. And in that expanding, we still have to accommodate.
But that's what I'm saying, that for me, it is a simple thing about being a human being. Right? Because we know a lot about being human. We know that the dualities of human, fire burns, fire warms. But I think if we are intentional about our being, we will look at like this Native American child asked the grandfather, hey, my bro, I have these two wolves, man. The one wolf is, hey, he's going to destroy, he's going to be corrupt, he's going to eat, he's only going to care about himself, what. But the other wolf is not a wolf, man, but they're both inside of me. Which wolf is going to win? And then the grandfather said, the one you feed. Right? So also in this narrative telling, and shifting the social paradigm like you're suggesting here. I think part of it is the privilege to say, how do we now in this collective imagination of Josie saying, never mind, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to invite these guys. I have big mouths, man. They have things to say. They're always talking things, man. And we're going to sit together and we're going to collectively reimagine, after I watch the show, what's going to be done as a responsibility to myself, to my family, to my community, to my country. Because the truth is, maybe Namibia does not work because we are not educated on the common good. Maybe I think that my village told me, oh, if your neighbor come ask for sugar, give him the sugar, man. No, I'm in the office, man. I'm procurement. So I'm just giving the guy the sugar, Josie. No, I was raised like that. Now you guys are calling ACC. Are you telling me that the cuckoo they taught me the wrong? No, I was told give your neighbor. We're from the same homestead, right? Give them the sugar. We said, no, my brother, that is right. If it's from if the sugar is from your village, but this sugar
is a national sugar,
everybody.
So you have to watch how you share it.
Yes, right. And your role is not to be the sugar. Your role is to make sure that the person who's going to get it is going to be in the best interest of the People's Republic. Right. So I don't necessarily think. I think a lot of these things we do, and then we are caught being like, "Hey, you got ACC," like the corporal punishment thing. Right. So I deal with it like in schools when I have to tell parents. Our teachers why they can't do corporal punishment in a country that's already so violent, because that means that becomes a dominant way of resolving problems. Right? I'm saying that we are perpetuating in a culture that's maybe in a culture where we're already kind of loving and we're laughing and there's many other ways to discipline it. If I hit you once or twice, it's okay. Right? But in a culture that is abhorrently violent, especially to young people, then you must be beaten at home. Then you must go to schools and then you must be beaten. Then you must be in a relationship, you must be beaten. Then you must get drunk and then argue about the alcohol and get beaten. Then you must take a taxi home and get beaten. Hi, man.
Yeah, just a beating, man.
It's a beating culture. So what I'm trying to say, it's the same thing with the political parties, really sticking to a very great conversation about political parties. I think it's also, what are the entry points? How do people enter politics?
Because it seems very exclusionary. For the general youth, if I'm a young person and I will speak as someone who's prided myself in being apolitical for the longest time, Man, it just looks messy. And when Michael is being arrested 15 times, I'm just like, I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah.
I can't go to jail. I'm too pretty, right? And so there are a lot of young people, especially when you have conversations, there are a lot of young people that sit and think, I want to invoke change. I want to inform policy, but the gateway, it requires too much, and I'm just not willing to sacrifice for Namibia that much. And then you who does, what do the youth, like the other day you posted on your Instagram, Namibians, you are not willing to support me and I'm fighting for you. Then it's almost as if you do enter politics and you're fighting for people, it's almost as if the youth also disengage you. They say, no, you chose your line of work, so go there. So we need to go back to that basic understanding. I think the best question for me to ask then is, let's look at party manifestos, right? Okay. Do they actually try to address youth problems in order to bait youth to, take an interest in politics? Or are manifestos just meant to, again, be self-serving and a promise, an empty promise that is made for you to vote them into power, and then people can go on and serve their kapundas?
Josie, I'll be brief with this. Now, here's the thing. Ask 99% of the voters. How many of them read manifestos? They don't. The problem is with our politics, it has become a politics of popularism.
Yeah.
If you're popular, you're likely to rise to the top. And not based on ideas, not based on ideology,
Vibes.
not based on anything.
Yeah, it's vibes. It really is
But I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm not really big on a meritocracy.
Yeah.
I really believe in vibes.
I need to be able to like you.
I really think politics is for popularity.
Yes.
And popularity is based on vibes. And if you can make a vibe, then I'll vote for you. Like, I think it's...
Yeah, but a vibe is also something that doesn't last too long. And after the vibe is gone, what are we left with?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's the point that you're driving.
Yeah.
You say, do political parties involve the youth in their manifestos and things of that sort? On paper, many of them do. They've got the youth empowerment, the youth development, youth this, youth that. But primarily that's because the youth have now become the larger voting bloc.
Yeah.
So that's why the emphasis is so much on them, because they want the youth vote.
So
And
it's a
the youth
gimmick,
vote,
basically.
The youth vote, like I said, it will take you into power.
Yeah.
But once you get that power, do those in power truly empower the youth? I mean, I don't want to...
But that's a good one, Michael. But I think the general in it, and this is my earlier thing. How will I empower you now when every industry, when everybody in the society is trying to get themselves ahead?
Yeah.
Then I will come bring that same attitude into politics, or into F&B, or into NGO, right? Even the NGOs in this country, everybody's just trying to get money and get paid and get themselves ahead.
Yes.
Right? They will not exist
Very
without foreign
self-serving,
funding. It's
yeah.
very self-serving. So my question is, if you come from a general culture of being self-serving, why do we have a problem just with political parties being self-serving?
And not all the other
And not
systems
like
that
even the
exist.
banks.
Yeah.
You just blink and then you get charged. Right? Like you mustn't even breathe the way of the bank and then you are in a deficit.
Imagine they charge us to just look at your bank balance. Like, I just want to know how much of my money is still there, and they charge you.
Yes.
Just
And
to
then-
check how much is still...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I think the self-serving, how many people lost houses?
Yeah.
That's what the lowest change recently because and you didn't even get the full amount, Yezu. Like you just got the amount that you owed, like and for 30 the jelly, who owe my jelly,
Yeah.
a yellow haze, but that exclude you.
But then remember, we must be able to understand that...
Are you raising the bar? So my question is, are you raising the bar for political parties? Are you saying political parties need a higher benchmark?
No. Let me quickly answer that. So we must be able to look as a society where it is that we come from. Because these politicians don't come from heaven. They don't come from other countries. They come right from our society.
Correct.
Now, over the years, this is what I've observed in my own personal capacity. Your parent would come, you are there playing with your friends, and your mother calls you skelamniam. They say, come here, I want to beat you. Then your friends, yeah, I want to beat you. Then they're like, yeah, I'm not going there. Then you come in the house, then you go under a corner, and then you so drink, eat go, and then gaan je terug. And then when you go back, you must pretend you are crying. So where did it start from?
So we are a national conglomerate of scallop. That's literally
That's literally what it is. So we must then be able to decipher the very basics of our societies.
Yeah.
And if we do not change that social fabric in terms of how we raise our children, how we obviously treat each other. I mean,
the
right
value
now,
system.
Josie, if I ask you a genuine question, what is your neighbor's name? Chances are you don't know your neighbor. Because
No, the funny
we now
thing is, I
live-
don't have a neighbor, but when I did have, you have a point. When I was living in a complex, I really didn't know my neighbors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the society that we're living in today, where you barely know who's the person next to you,
But I think-
and you could care less who's next
But
to
I
you.
think you're right in the sense that like we even endorse it. So Josie, if I'm like now using the popularism and I post of the things, I do a lot of development work now.
Yeah.
But I always find that it's like maybe it's too old school. Like it's very like condescending for me to be in Sumkwe in my Getty Dunes all the time and be like, hi, please meet the thing from the like
Yes.
I just feel like maybe if the people will take advantage of them, see that we are busy with them, they'll be better prepared to respond to these people and be like, oh, the Tsumkwansis from Tumkwa are getting themselves ready with work that's going to challenge the conservancy model or the whatever. Do you know what I mean? So then I struggle to say, okay, I know I have a political voice, I know I have influence, but how do I narrate the story around caring for people while also at the same time caring for myself? Right? So I think what we have done as a society is to say we are happy when other youth get appointed, even if they don't go address youth issues, as long as they are there as the
Yeah,
quota.
Ian van ons was that.
Yes,
man.
in fact, not the fact, and that's why, and then generally we have a culture that doesn't tell us about the outcome, right? So now, 4 people who are under the age of 30 are in the cabinet. As a result of that, the National Youth Council got 150,000. The National Youth Service, all the like, what is the outcome? And then that money was taken, and then 50% now have access to things.
And it trickled
right?
down to
Yes,
the average youth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we've become so, and it's problematic particularly in the oppressed consciousness, right? That we normalize so many, that we've just normalized only one of us getting ahead. Only, Petri from Damarolokasi going to Emma Wakanot.
Yes.
And that's not good enough, right? So the question is, like you're saying, what do we value, man? And in Afrikaans, even not like, as je iemand vraagt, wat is jouw waarde? What is your waarde? And that I think becomes a different conversation when it comes to political parties. Because remember, I worked at NID.
Yeah.
I trained political parties for many years on political campaigns. How do they connect more to the audiences that support them, the ones that don't support them, the ones who are undecided, right? The messaging. But what it has become, and this is the central problem for me in this culture, is that this country is, and that's why maybe the new regime, the 8th administration, is changing this in theory.
Yeah.
But for me, Namibia is run by ecosystems.
Yes.
Ecosystems, you see it even in opposition politics, right? And like you say, I myself,
I love how you said it, like opposition, and then you looked at Michael. But yeah, continue. Yeah.
but I mean that's what Michael was trying to find an ecosystem
yes.
that as a good seed, he was planted in, he would thrive. But then now you bring Michael in first, and then later on you become threatened by Michael.
Yeah, because now Michael is talking.
Because now
and
Michael wants to
doing
take
what he
over
needs
now,
to do.
and Michael has probably people who who support him. So this guy is trying to find a place where he can be as a seed planted and thrive.
Yes.
But then the soil becomes contaminated because these people have inferiority complexes, and they want to use people to pay better salaries. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we're in a country where greed and exploitation have become increasingly normalized, and I think that culture then extends onto political parties.
We said something earlier when we were talking outside in the break, where you said that sometimes black excellence starts to threaten black power.
Correct.
And I think that ties in with what you were saying. We've seen it happen so much that the young people who are actually rising up to occasion, and not just in politics, in other areas as well, they thrive, but then there's a cap that's put there to say, don't eat any further. No. You can't go any further than this, because there are those of us who need you to stay there so that we can continue to thrive. And now we have a country where so many young people feel like, no, we have to wait for them to die out before we can do anything. But by the time they die out, we're 50, and it's like, when are we supposed to I'm going into pension. I'm going into retirement. My kids need me now. So that, and we're trying to change that. And I think I want to shift the gears of the conversation into constructive, not criticism, but constructive advice for young people, because I know that there are people who are watching this episode who might have something to offer political parties and the youth wings, the greater Namibia. But because of hesitancy, because of how political parties operate. I mean, we look at situations where during independence there's a white tent and then everybody else is standing in the sun, and it's the people standing in the sun, we must still ask them to vote. You know, they're eating bretjens with half a vosh, and you know the vosh is always just put at the edge of the bretjen so it looks like it's a full vosh, but it's not. But they have catering in the white tent. So sometimes also the way political parties express their power, don't you think that could also then serve as a deterrent to young people to get involved in politics? Because it's like, even if I come in and I try to serve you guys, you're still going to make me stand in the sun, and the tent with the black sofas is only for those who are elders, out of respect. Your opinion?
Well, that is why I'll continue to say that for as long as you've got people who have become comfortable with a certain system, those people are going to want their comfortability to remain as it is.
Absolutely.
Now, unfortunately, we have an inferiority complex. And I think you're very correct about the ego thing. Now, for as long as a young person, you come into any space and you start offering new ideas and you start offering new ways of doing things, there is going to be resistance. It's unfortunate. That's just how things are. I mean, I could just imagine when people were comfortable with horse riding and someone says, you know what, we can actually create an engine or something of a mechanical thing where we're not required to do horses. I'm sure the guy who had a stable that produced those horses, who was not happy with that. So, for as long as you threaten someone's food, human beings by nature, they like to protect what is theirs, where they are eating. So we must be able to then, as a society, collectively say, does this model work? Is this model sustainable? Is this model sufficient? Well, clearly it is not, because if you look at the highest number of unemployment, who does it affect the most? It's young people. If we look at the housing crisis, who does it affect the most? It's young people. I mean, we are the only generation of young people who most probably don't own homes yet. We don't own cars yet. We don't even have like a 1 hectare farm. We have nothing, literally nothing. So for as long as this generation continues to have nothing and it sees no future in this place called the People's Republic of Namibia or the people of Namibia, then we're headed into dangerous times. However, everything is all about starting with conversations. Because the moment we're able to have a conversation, mindsets are able to be shifted. When mindsets are shifted, it shifts into, from the mind, it becomes an act. So what young people need to start doing, seeing that they have the biggest numbers, young people need to unite. There's no unity amongst young people.
And the unity can't be based on political affiliation.
No. It must be based on our social issues. We must be able to say, what are our problems as young people? I mean, you guys in the creative space, I find, right now I hope you have registered an account in the US so that we're able to monetize that. Otherwise, we'll just be getting 1 million views and we still
have... you gonna call me out of my own show?
No, I'm just saying.
Making sure that, there's a pathway to monetization.
You see some of those things. I mean, right now, we've got so many young people on so many spaces doing
amazing things.
But unfortunately, when we're supposed to come together and work together. We don't want to do that. And that's why I say that the reason why we don't want to do that is because our enemy is no longer a common enemy like back in the days. Back in the days, we were all able to rally behind one thing because the enemy was very
visible.
But now, we're so easily divided that we do not understand what it is that we actually want as young people.
You make me think about an economic theory. When I was studying in the US, they're like, no, the market is controlled by the invisible hand. And then there's witchcraft in the economy.
Because why can't we see the hand? Why can we not see the hand?
Right, this is an economic theory, right? And so now we're talking about like what is actually controlling this what is this invisible hand that's controlling young people's minds and thoughts and ideas? Why can't we? It's the same thing in the creative sector. Let me tell you, I've written on like social protection for artists in this country. Let me tell you what the biggest challenge is: collective bargaining. That the Namibian artists cannot just come together and have a position. And then I asked, but then how can the domestic workers do that? And they were like, the domestic workers get to come together. And I said, yes, because they are in the bus together. The whole so that section, what is that bus? They support. So where do you guys come together? So if the domestic workers can mobilize, if the security guards can mobilize, and they just in many different places, as the artists are, why is it? And I think it's got to do with like this issue of talent, right? Particularly in the creative industries. I don't think politicians in African context largely understand human beings and human creativity as a talent, and they don't understand that talent can be a national resource because it's only the diamond and the uranium and the whatever. So a lot of the suffering in a country like Namibia, where kids are able to express, dance, draw, whatever, you're missing out on the opportunity to have jobs where we can have junior animators. I teach part-time now at NAS in the animation department for development. A junior animator, after he gets certified on Toon Boon, is making like 18 pounds an hour. Right? That's like say $440, 8 hours, $3,200 a day. Times that by 22 days, 60, then you have $60,000, but you don't have to work in Namibia. You're in Namibia, you're animating, that you're certified for something abroad.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge about Namibians, again, is our collective imagination, because the driving forces are things like media. So that question of black excellence comes into play. Who do you serve when you are excellent? And the ideas around consumerism, and where are you consuming from? And even the issue of Namibian influencers who buy into foreign brands. Nobody wants to speak about it. Why? Because it's their livelihood, and I don't want to take bread out of anybody's mouth. But the truth is, why are we not promoting Oshikundu and getting Oshikundu to be valued, and then sending Oshikundu to Angola and to all the DRCs and every girl that likes a fermented drink? So the people are not understanding that our own people are being used against us in the telling of our story. Why? For capitalist interest. Now, I don't have a problem with capitalism, right? I have a problem with...
No, you can't. You were just on a plane from Spain.
I have a problem with ownership.
Yeah.
I have a problem with ownership. I'm saying let us be capitalist, but let's own the digital platform that we are using. Why must I take a ride here and then somebody in China is making money and then that person doesn't have to come follow the rules of law of this country because they are on an app and they're compromising the sovereignty of our state and say, I don't have to be registered like everybody else and be checked and be paid this permit. I can break the rules because I follow an app that is absolutely dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? Because it compromises our entire country and who rules it and what is actually a law in this country.
Yeah.
So getting back to my point is, where do we strategically position ourselves as young people? For what? Have we come to the point where we cannot collectively reimagine this country?
I mean, we can come together for a festival if Zegspan doing it. There we come together. But I think it's also about priorities. I think our priorities are misaligned as young people. Everybody, like you guys said earlier, is fighting their own battle. Me, I'm a single father. My baby mama ran away. Those are my struggles. Jealous verstani, because you're not in my house. You could be dealing with the issue of land. You could be dealing with the issue of debt. Everybody is so focused on their own personal struggle.
But what's a priority in our philosophy?
Yeah.
Is Ubuntu a priority or not? Let's maybe agree on it. Let's not pretend. And I think that's the thing in this country. When you live in the second or third most unequal country in the world, that's what's unfair for people like my dad to tell me he's going to buy me a bike every month, and every month he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
It takes away a little bit more from your soul every single time.
And you die
when people
inside.
speak about housing in this country, and 62% of Namibians are unhoused. Ne? And then you see court cases and people are building houses with $22 million or $20 million.
Why do you have an elevator in a village house? It's very disrespectful for your neighbors.
I mean,
this is what I'm saying. How is it possible? So the architecture.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the architecture of, are we also now assimilated into, as political parties? Because I think the nice thing that I think yes and no is because of the inter-party democracy that we never speak about. There's many ideas in one political party, right? And there's contestation. And I think there's a lot of contestation in the Namibian, political parties. And therefore, I think that if I have to be ultimate, I think yes, they've done Namibian kids good. It's kind of like when people argue about the church and they say, these churches are taking money. I say, but if the people are crazy to pay them, where would they be?
Yeah,
The
why
church
would you
wasn't
blame
there.
the church? Yes,
Yeah, where would they be? Where would the people be? Where would the guy that's fainting be?
Yeah.
If the church wasn't there, he must pay for the service.
Yeah.
Because he's feeling better now. The demons will pray out of him. You didn't have to go to therapy. Otherwise, you know what I mean? Where would the people be?
Yeah,
so my question would, where would we be if it wasn't for political parties? Whether you think the churches are taking the people's money or not, I get it. Whether they're paying tax or not, I get it. But where would the demand side? Why are the people demanding so much church service? And why are they giving their lives and their salaries away? What is missing in them spiritually?
Because there is a sense of hope and peace that it provides that they can't get from
And I think
anywhere
political
else.
parties do the same
thing. Yeah. True. They serve a purpose.
Yeah.
I think it's about aligning the youth agenda and youth participation with the purpose that the political party serves. We can go on and on and on, but obviously we need to come to a close. And I think I want to do it by asking the both of you just one very simple question. I'm a young 17-year-old boy. Man, the dacha has me in the chokehold. But I'm also tired because it's tiring. Being unemployed, it's tiring being unhappy, it's tiring having mental health issues. I want to start invoking change. I want to make a difference, but I don't know how to in terms of politics. What would be your advice to them? But also speaking largely on why there is incentive for each and every young Namibian who is of voters' age to take an interest in politics, because it affects more than just what we were on 21 March.
Okay, I'll just quickly answer this by saying to that 17 or 16-year-old who's currently busy with the truth or the dacha, the pipe. I mean, there's a young boy who literally just walks around with a bottle every day. It's empty, but there's that smell of petrol. So sniffs it every day just to forget his misery, to forget his struggles, to forget his troubles. So people obviously want to abuse something in order for them to mentally escape the reality that they're living in.
Yeah.
People don't understand this. I mean, parents have an issue with kids consuming all these things. But the question is, why are they? It's because the environment is so terrible that at
They
least
need an
when I'm
outlet,
high,
yeah.
for those 3-4 minutes, there's at least a heaven or whatever it is that I can be able to see. So to that young person who's currently in that situation, all I can tell you is to say that, number one, start believing in yourself. Start believing that you have a better future.
And that
Start
you
imagining
deserve
that future.
a better future, yeah.
And one thing that I've realized is that if you do not take ownership of your own life, then sadly you will be very lost. So I think as a society, we need more role models. And that is why some of us, despite the struggles that we go through, we still...
And the
able
drama.
and the drama and everything. It's because I understand that there is a young person who's most probably looking up to me. And who watches whatever it is that I post on a daily, just so that they can have that motivation and so that they can have that hope. So to that young person, we were also once there, we were also once lost, we were also once hopeless, but somehow we kept believing in ourselves that one day we're going to get somewhere, and that day eventually came. So for now, all I'm going to ask is to say that live in the moment. Forget about your hardships of tomorrow. Forget about your hardships you faced yesterday. Focus on now, because that's the only time you're ever going to know. And when you start focusing on this now, start bettering your life. As young people, read a book.
Oh my goodness, young people, read
It's even
a
literature,
book.
International Literature Day.
Yes.
Chances are this book is going to empower you. I tell people to say that, I love prison because I have enough time to read.
The jailbird in you just jammed.
It's a duality.
What?
I mean, in this reality, the normal life, it's too fast for me.
Yeah.
But at prison, it calms me down because now I've got nothing to do. I get to read, I get to watch.
Pause, guys. We're not saying go to prison. That's not what we're saying. You can find peace at home, okay? You ain't gotta go to jail.
But if you do,
there's peace, according to Michael. Yeah.
So, but the most important thing is to say that whatever situation it is that you're finding yourself, don't lose yourself. The problem is we allow our problems to consume us. And when our problems consume us, we've got absolutely no thinking capacity for the creative part. I mean, human beings by nature are creative at solving problems. But when the problem consumes you, then you become the problem, and then you are the problem. So let us start sometimes just breathe. Just be grateful that you're alive. Be grateful that you have the mobility, whatever the case is. Just count all those little things. Put them together, you actually realize you're very wealthy. Because
and much better off than a lot of people.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So, those would be my few cents.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm gonna keep it short. I always say ne.
Yeah,
Most.
Yeah, it will. We're be a Namibian podcast. If it is a name, boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, if you want things that you've never had, you have to do things you've never done.
Boom.
And it's very difficult if you haven't had peace, if you haven't had love, if you haven't had support. And so a lot of people will be like, Patrick, man, you're so confident. I say, hey, me, bro. Me, I'm an Oma child. So already you people who raised my parents, I'm ahead of you because your parents were busy going to work, feeding your hot dogs and whatever. Me, as an Oma child, so I got enough love. So I don't Zula for love, Josie.
Yeah.
People ask me what's your magic power. Zula, my grandmother died 24 years ago and she still left me with like copious amounts of love. But I acknowledge that in this country, that is a privilege.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we then cultivate a culture where even joining political parties or having a voice or volunteering or being part of your community is a very simple understanding. It's science. Right? If you are a seed, you must be planted in soil to be fruitful. Right? No seed that is good grows in bad soil. But a bad seed can grow in good soil. Right? Because the idea as a value system is, do we want a nation of people that are going to be fruitful? Do we want a forest of these fruits that have been planted and be fruitful? Everybody wants it, because if you eat that sweet mango or that pineapple, you say, yeah, there is a God. That only God could make this thing, because yeah. And the truth is that I work in the worlds of AI and public policy and human psychology. It's not just a Namibian problem. There is a dehumanization effort from global forces that I play.
Yes.
There's African elites that are involved in this process where elites want to keep their property, have a hand in yours and turn you into property. At an African level, at a regional level, there are power forces that want to shape the resources of the countries to make sure that they're owned only by a few.
Yeah.
At a national level, we're competing for just mobility. I want to be excellent. I want to be recognized. In our communities, we have been distorted in terms of what we are doing every day. Yes, we can have a good time, but also can we have a productive time?
Yeah.
How do we offset consuming with producing, right? My friend in America says he thought that mangoes grew in shops.
We're not going to speak about
yeah.
that.
And then finally, so the way that I'm going to cascade is this idea. I think when we want to shift the paradigm, we have to give, like you were saying, when you're surviving, needing to survive 80%, 70% of your time to yourself, then maybe 10% goes to community, then maybe 5% goes to country, then maybe 2% goes to Africa, and then 1% goes to humanity.
Yeah.
Right? Because even now, when you want to thrive and be black excellent, remember the global forces, right now what's happening in Palestine, think that those people aren't human. And as a Nama, that's exactly what 127 years ago was thought about us as not being human.
Yes.
So a lot of the times, even our own people will treat us as not humans. So the question is, how can we ensure that political parties and people that join political parties ensure that humanity, the human being, their dignity is safeguarded? I think it's a season for safeguards, Josie.
Absolutely. Patrick and Michael, thank you so much. This was so wonderful. It's changed perspectives for me, but I'm hoping that it transcends into a mental social shift for all those who are watching the program. Always appreciate it, and I'll definitely have the both of you back again in our next part of the mini-series. We're done.
To the people watching us from Ghana, Zambia, we truly
Yes,
appreciate
please.
you.
Even the ones from
The subscribe
America.
button.
Hit the
Okay, wait,
subscribe
please.
button.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Yeah, boss. Subscribe.
I just hope it's where his foot will be. But thank you guys so much for tuning in again. Remember, the Social Shift drops every Monday on my YouTube channel. That's the Social Shift with Josie Nyipandwa. Until next week, same time, same place. Thank you. Drop all of your comments in the comment section. We're eager to hear what it is you have to say about our conversation today, and take the conversation further. The idea is it should not end here. Goodbye, and I'll see you guys next week.